Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Race Report. I'm Ron Hills, and this week we're coming to you from the International Motor Racing Research Center in Watkins Glen. Coming up on this week's show, we'll hear from Glenn Donnelly on the progress of the Central New York Motorsports Park. Part one of the interview with Thunder Mountain Modified driver Jeremy Smith. But first, let's hear from Glenn Donnelly. For years, Glenn was the head of Dirt Motorsports. Progress has slowed on the Central New York Motorsports Park, partly because of lack of funding. But instead of hearing it from me, let's hear it from the man who's creating New York State's newest racetrack.
Well, we all know why we are here, and had a very exciting ride coming down with Glenn Donnelly and John and learning about CNYRP, but you folks want to hear it as well. Let me just give you a little background of Glenn Donnelly. I first met up with Glenn Donnelly back in the early 70s. And we've been through an awful lot, from racing to lifetime experiences that are second to none. He almost killed me in a boat one time. But we've had an awful lot of fun. But the one thing I can say, and one of the things I don't do, is read social media. I hear an awful lot about it, but I don't touch it, because I think a lot of it's bull. If you want to say something to me, say it to my face or say it to Glenn's face, but the social media sometimes just really kind of runs wild. The one thing I can say about Glenn Donnelly, this man never says never. I've been with him at the tower at Syracuse where it was raining, snowing, storming. He'd turn around and look at me and he'd say, boy, I think we're really screwed today. And then all of a sudden, he'd look up into the sky, he goes, there it is. There's our window of opportunity. We're going racing. Tell him we're going racing. And we went racing. So this guy always got the job done. And regardless what you read, what you hear, listen to this man today about Central New York Raceway Park. And without further ado, my good friend, Glenn Donnelly.
Hey, Joe, I think we ought to start it out right, though. Back in 1972, I was looking for an announcer. And at Syracuse, you know, because I started at the State Fair, Labor Day race. And this was the last day at the fair. And I'm wondering, geez, I got to have an announcer. I don't want to do the announcing myself. So what did? I went on to Midway. Now, for some of you people that are a little older, you might remember they used to have the burlesque shows. Who was the 18-year-old kid in front trying to get the people to come to the Burley show? Now, do you remember those shows, the shows at the fairgrounds? Well, here I am in 1972. Who do I hear? Joe. Just give them a couple nods and see if they remember the Barker.
Why, just last week, Mr. Walter Winchell described her as the best undressed woman in show business. When Miss Jones comes up there and does her dance, you're going to jump up and say, glory be, I'm young again, and now I present again Glenn Donnelly.
I'm just saying, that's how I met Joe. We switched them from the Burleys to the stock car racing. And shortly after that, they stopped doing the Burley shows. But anyway, yeah, back in 1972, my background was always sports, and in particular football. I went through college on a football scholarship. So I always looked at, and again, back in the 60s, the NFL was just really coming into their own. So a lot of it was, what created the interest, what made football what it is today. And I knew we had to have a big event. I bought Weedsport back in 1970, took it over in 71, and immediately started getting what you look at as all the teams in the NFL, how they all got together. Well, my job now was put all the teams together. What were they? They were racetracks. So in 71, we got, then the big racetracks were like Reading in Pennsylvania, Nazareth in Pennsylvania. New Jersey was Flemington, East Windsor. A lot of these tracks are gone today. But still, all throughout New York, most of them are still intact. A lot of them I had to bring back, like Canandaigua. I bought Weedsport. Rolling Wheels was just being built. And Orange County, which I took over in '83. And then, of course, working with Howie Commander at Lebanon Valley, Fonda was. So to make a long story short, I had to get the teams all together. And we had one site where we had to do what football is the Super Bowl. We needed Super Dirt Week. And that became the New York State Fairgrounds, a mile track, and I was then doing the Labor Day race. So this October we were going to do Super Dirt Week. The first year, I got a sponsor with Schaefer Beer. It was called the Schaefer 100. We rained out on Friday and Saturday and had to do it all on Sunday. Well, to make a long story short, I lost about $7,000. I'm 30 years old and saying, Jesus, do I want to do this anymore? I just don't have that kind of money to lose. And I had a contract with Schaefer for 3 years. So I had to go back. And I'm glad I did, because ever since then, it's been a tremendous moneymaker for dirt motorsports, which I then formed and led right up until 1990, when the first inkling of the State Fair mile track was going away. They had built the grandstand back in the 70s, that big 15,000 seater. That was built to attract the Hamiltonian, a big horse race. Well, the Meadowlands in Jersey also built a brand new track, and they had the same thing, and of course they won the bid. And the Hamiltonian's been going to New Jersey ever since. Syracuse tried several years trying to bring in horse racing, and it just never worked out. It's kind of like the amphitheater they built now. But anyway, 1990, I bought this piece of property just north of the Brewerton Speedway. Why? Because it was right off 81. There was a rest area right there, and in there was 150 acres, because you can't find 150 acres that you can develop into a racetrack any place of any real substance where you want to be. So I bought it. It had a go-kart track on it, and I let other people run the go-kart track, and I just gave it to them just to keep running there until, something went wrong with Syracuse. Of course, nothing did, and in 2004, I sold my interests in dirt motorsports to the World Racing Group, which has it today. I was supposed to be on board with them for 3 years. I think it was after 6 months I disagreed with them on a couple things. One I know was television, and the other was why they wanted to start a late model division and go against Lucas Oil. And I said, if I were you, I would join with them. But at that meeting, it got pretty, because television was always something that, in particular, we did a show called This Week on Dirt. I don't know if any of you people out there watched it, but it was a 6-month deal that ran for 15 years, throughout New York State. So those two things, my temper can get up every now and then, and I got to a point I walked out on them. And the next day I got my termination letter. So that ended my allegiance there, but I signed a non-compete for 5 years, so I couldn't really do anything. And of course, as soon as that 5 years was up, which was like 6 years ago, I started to develop the idea and working on this Central New York racetrack. I immediately got to my friend Peter Argesinger, because the hottest thing the last 10 years has been in road racing. And I knew for us to really make a go of a facility of this magnitude, you had to have not only the road race course, but I wanted to have it where people, no matter what you were driving, whether it's a go-kart or it's a sprint car, modified, blacktop or dirt, you could come to this facility and we could utilize it, especially in New York, from at least May 1st right through October, every day, which included some practice. You got to remember, most race teams out there, there is no such thing as practicing in racing. You're usually right on the line. You're going to do a little warm-ups, you get right into the heats, and then right into the feature. That's the way motorsports is, whether it's dirt or asphalt, on the short track ovals. So I like the idea of us having a facility that could do everything. Of course, the big stumbling block here is it's going to cost $50 million. So that's all the stuff that we had presented. I went out and got, I don't know, we're up to about 47 investors, and we've already put in $10 million of our own dollars over the last 5 years. I mean, we've cleared the property. We've done everything. To make a long story short, we've spent that kind of money getting where we are. We had to take over Rolling Wheels last year just so we could test all these things we wanted to do and bring up on the dirt track, which is the synthetic surface, and our whole idea of where and how we were going to build and shape the dirt track with, again, a blacktop track on the inside, another facility inside of that. So what are we coming up with? We're coming up with a 5/8 mile dirt track, half-mile macadam track, and inside that is going to be used for drift racing, go-karts, anything else we want to make, a small road course, speedway bikes. I mean, you name it, we can do it. And we've got a product that we can even make basically dirt anywhere as we want. And that's this product that we use, which is basically waxes, clay, polymers, and resin. And it's not like we come up with this whole idea ourselves. Major League Baseball's been doing it for 10 years. Every Major League Baseball diamond and warning track, pitcher's mound, batters, it's all synthetic. Same thing we're looking at. The only difference is we're using clay, they're using stone dust, and it all comes from Wisconsin. As an example, Yankee Stadium, when it was built just a few years back, cost them $6 million to bring all that in. But again, they can make it any color they want. So the color of the batter's box and the pitcher's mound, they're all different. We could do the same thing. We'll keep it looking like clay, though. So the bottom line is we've spent this money. We're worked all winter. Last September, the governor came in and awarded us $6 million because, as you all know, the Syracuse mile went away. They blew up the grandstand. So we're the ones who are going to get financial help of $5 million to build the dirt track. The road course, the funding for that is already in place, and that'll all start right after we get in conjunction of when we're doing the dirt track. But the scheduled date, and I'll let Peter talk more on that later, is like in May of 17. The dirt track is what we got to get in right now, and we want to be ready for Super Dirt Week. Now, there's always that question, how much will we be ready for Super Dirt Week? Do we have to work with another track or not? You know, that decision will be made probably the second week in July. What I can tell you, we were awarded $5 million by the governor, and collecting that money is the toughest part. We've been awarded $7.75 million to build this facility. To date, we've collected about $800,000. And again, of our own investor money, we spent 10, and we're probably $2 more million over that we still owe to some of our people, but it will be covered under the money that we get from the state and be able to finish up. And anyone who wants to come by our facility, I'd be glad to show you. We worked for 5 months over the winter. And out of that 5 months, this is Monday through Friday, out of that 5 months with all the off-road trucks, the excavators, the dozers, anyone that's gone by there could have, saw the work. But it was working in and out of the snow and the cold weather and this and that. We only lost 4 days. So basically it was a good winter for us to do a lot of the work. A lot of the work was done, and of course a lot was frozen, a lot was snow. So it's kind of a blessing that we have stopped work about a month ago. Because April, I believe it was March or April, we were supposed to get the $5 million. So, we're not going to go into debt. We're not going to go asking our people for more money, because that's not the way you run a business. You try and do it, and I found out for years, the least thing you want is to owe money, because that's where you can get in a lot of trouble. We haven't gotten any money that we owe anyone else other than our own investors.
You're watching the Race Report on Fox 40.
30 years of satisfied customers. That's the proud history of Brush and Pallet Auto in Candor. We have a large selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs. Here is this week's Car of the Week. We'll give you a $1,000 minimum trade-in, and we have financing options to fit your needs, including a first-time buyers program. Think you can't afford it? We think you can. Check us out at brush-pallet.com or visit us in person at 598 Owego Road in Candor, New York.
98.1 The Hawk, number 1 for 20 in a row.
This is Jason Aldean.
Hot new country.
This is Luke Brown.
And kiss tomorrow goodbye.
This is Charles, Dave,
and Hillary.
And we are
Lady Annabella.
And I don't know why you don't take me downtown anymore.
Binghamton's Hot New Country.
This is Carrie Underwood.
Every tear soaked whiskey memory blown away.
Binghamton's Hot New Country. 98.1 The Hawk.
Unicorn Electronics in the Valley Plaza, Johnson City has the best pricing and selection of audio, video, and computer cables in the area. Don't spend a fortune on that HDMI cable for your new HD TV or Blu-ray player. Unicorn Electronics has quality cables in the lengths you need at a price you can afford. Expanding your network, Unicorn has the patch cables and accessories to make it happen. When you need to connect, think Unicorn Electronics in the Valley Plaza, Johnson City.
For 3 generations, we've been building world-class American performance.
Like the new Edelbrock Power Package Top-End Kit, based on Edelbrock's powerful RPM crate engines. Each kit includes aluminum heads and intake, cam and lifters, gaskets, and hardware to build your own 400-plus horsepower Chevy small block. For 3 generations, it's pure American performance from the leader. Call now for your free Edelbrock catalog.
Edelbrock makes them right here in the USA.
Jeremy Smith is one of the most popular modified drivers in central New York. He raced for years at the Afton Speedway. He decided to hang up racing a little while, but now he's back, and it's a family operation. For more, here's Leon Andrus.
We're down here at Brothers 2 for the race report. Have the privilege of talking to modified campaigner Jeremy Smith, who drives the number 46 at the Thunder Mountain Speedway. Welcome to the race report, Jeremy.
Thanks, Leon. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So we'd like to get in before we get really into some of the meat and potatoes of the interview. Basically, I want to tell the people, you believe you stopped racing in 2007. It might have been 2006. Just let the folks, why did you actually stop then?
Well, I got out because my kids were getting older. They were, I think, 6, 5, and 2 at the time. And racing was kind of taken away from time with them. So we went camping and boating and things of that nature, and I just didn't have the time for it. My crew chief at the time, Eddie Maslam, he just had gotten married and he was starting a family, and it was getting to be the wrong time to, take away from the family to keep going at the racing.
So then to get back into racing here, this is your first year officially back into racing. What got you back into racing?
Kind of the same thing, the family. It was interesting. It was a Saturday last year, early in the year. The boys were bugging me to go to the races, so I said, all right, we'll go to Thunder Mountain. I almost didn't go. And we got up there, and Carl come over and said, why don't you take the boys down in the pits? And I went down in the pits, and first guy I see was Doug Worthing. Hey, Jeremy, how are you? And, I visited with him, and it was kind of a nice feeling, everybody, that I'd known from before. And so then we went home that night, and they started, asking, and my wife was around the kitchen table and started talking about racing, and I said, we'll see. And then it led up to where we're at today.
So I guess that would be my question. How did you get hooked up with the Coors?
Well, I've known Chris Clark for a long time, played basketball with him in high school. I know Tom and Teresa for a lot of years because they were, with Clarkie playing ball. So I just asked them. I didn't know what I was going to have for a crew to start out. I know Eddie was going to be able to give us a little bit of hand at the track. That was my crew chief from before. And I wanted to have the boys work. My boys are Matt and Darren, and then their friend Dylan. I knew that they were going to be working. But so I asked Clarkie, I said, hey, would you guys be willing to work with us, and give us a hand and kind of get me back into it a little bit? So they did. And so our car is over at their shop. Our car and the car that Gary Tompkins drives over at Tom's shop. And we just have a lot of fun. My daughter goes now too on Wednesday nights, and she bangs out the dents with Jerry and polishes it and everything. So it's really, I got out of it because of family, and I'm getting back in it because of family.
Well, and that's really what racing is about. I mean, you should be able to spend time with your family and have some fun. I know some weeks it probably isn't fun. You're talking about this earlier before we started. The little incident was at Thunder Mountain there, and it had different opinions. And basically, the best way to explain it is you from the driver's seat on the one restart is where the controversy is, and Ronald should be showing that.
Yeah, it was it's funny because we were going on a family vacation, and we were going to be gone for a week and a half. We were going down to Florida, and I kind of made a commitment to the guys that, I'd come back up, we'd fly back up to race. Well, Dylan and Darren were with me, and we were in Florida, and we were on the way down, and we were getting plane tickets, and my wife says, well, are you just going to go, or are the boys going to go with you? I said, well, I got to take the boys, or there's no sense me going. And long story short, I told them, I said, listen, guys, it's extra. I think it was $1,800 to win. I said, that's about what the plane tickets are. We'll just go up and we'll win the race, and we'll cover it that way. So it was kind of funny. The boys were really after me, and I remember before I went out for the feature, my son Darren says, don't forget what we came here to do tonight, Dad. I said, all right. So it was funny. I think I started 8th or something, and I got right to 2nd in 5 laps, and I was pretty excited. And Tyler had taken off. We had, 3 or 4 restarts in a row, and Tyler, he just took off and left us. And the guy in 3rd didn't fire as fast, so I kind of ducked down behind him. And when I did that, I think the 3rd or 4th time, everybody kind of knew what I was doing to some extent. And he kind of came up, and it was partly my fault because I was a little lazy knowing what I was going to do, and hung back. And his right rear hit my left front, and it pointed me up in the air, and I dropped back, 6th or 7th.
Well, and that's good. That's a pretty good explanation of what happened in that incident, because I know personally I've heard 3 or 4 different things, and I couldn't remember exactly. I remembered that you got, pushed up a little bit and slowed down and other stuff was happening, but again, so many things are happening at the same time, so no one officially knows except for the 2 people involved or 3 people involved, usually in the driver's seat. So, all right.
And please join us next week for part 2 of our interview with Jeremy Smith. Stay tuned, there's more still ahead on this edition of The Race Report.
You're watching The Race Report on Fox 40.
30 years of satisfied customers. That's the proud history of Brush and Pallet Auto in Candor. We have a large selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs. Here is this week's Car of the Week. We'll give you a $1,000 minimum trade-in, and we have financing options to fit your needs, including a first-time buyers program. Think you can't afford it? We think you can. Check us out at brush-pallet.com or visit us in person at 598 Owego Road in Candor, New York.
For 3 generations, we've been building world-class American performance.
Like the new Edelbrock Power Package Top End Kit, based on Edelbrock's powerful RPM crate engines. Each kit includes aluminum heads and intake, cam and lifters, gaskets, and hardware to build your own 400-plus horsepower Chevy small block. For 3 generations, it's pure American performance from the leader. Call now for your free Edelbrock catalog.
Edelbrock makes them right here in the USA.
A reminder, please join us every Monday night at Brothers 2 in Endwell, that's 2901 Watson Boulevard, for racing trivia. The trivia starts at 7:30. Often we have guests that we interview just before the trivia starts, but each week we give you one answer to the trivia. This week's answer is Days of Thunder. And that's all we have time for. For everyone at the Race Report, thanks for watching. Until next week, I'm Ron Hills, and I'll see you at the races.
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Oh woman, don't you treat me this way. The meanest old woman I got to say. I guess if you say so, I have to pack my things and go.
That's right, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Oh baby, listen, baby, don't you treat me this way. Don't be back on my feet someday.
Don't care if you do, 'cause understood. You ain't got no money, you just ain't no good.
I guess if you say so, I have to pack my things and go.
That's right, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Well,
Don't you come back no more.
you don't mean that, girl.
Don't you come back no more.
I know you don't want me to leave.
Come back no more.
Who's gonna get my welfare check?
Come back no more.
Oh, girl.
Don't you come back no more.
All right, I guess I gotta go.
Don't you come